news tonight from the State House. The head of Georgia's Department of Juvenile Justice now out of a job.
Earlier this morning, DJJ board members voted to fire the head of the agency. Governor Brian Kemp wasted no time approving their decision.
So here's what we know. Commissioner Avery Niles' departure comes exactly 2 weeks after a Reveal investigation uncovered DJJ's chief lied under oath about his education. Reveal investigator Andy Parati originally broke the story and was the only journalist in today's meeting.
Well, Jeff, Commissioner Niles tried to resign, but the board declined to accept it, voting to remove him instead.
I would ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
With a unanimous vote Wednesday morning, board members over Georgia's Department of Juvenile Justice agree to remove Commissioner Avery Niles from his job. 11 Alive was the only media outlet to speak to board members after their decision, none of them offering any explanation.
It's been tough, but we got through it, and I think we did what we should have done.
Is there any particular reason why the vote happened today?
I've told you I can't discuss a personnel matter.
The meeting, scheduled with less than a 24-hour notice, almost immediately went into executive session, closed to the public. When it was over, the board returned, but Commissioner Niles did not. Niles submitted a letter of resignation, but the board declined to accept it, voting to fire him instead.
The motion was unanimous.
It's a difficult day for us all.
Why was it difficult?
Just difficult.
You have a few seconds on the commissioner's departure comes 2 weeks after a Reveal investigation uncovered Niles admitted to lying under oath about his education. It happened during a deposition as part of a lawsuit against the agency. Commissioner Niles claimed he had an associate's degree in criminal justice. He later admitted that wasn't true.
Do you have a few seconds to talk about Commissioner Niles?
Earlier this month, Governor Brian Kemp declined to discuss the deposition.
Are you concerned about it?
I don't think you heard what I just said. I wouldn't be able to comment on a personnel matter.
Hours after the board meeting, he approved their decision to fire Niles.
Just a couple of things.
Over the past year, 11 Alive uncovered numerous claims of DJJ staff covering up misconduct, including inappropriate relationships with juveniles. Are you aware of any incidents that are not being reported at your facilities?
Thank you, Andy.
A commissioner walking away from questions about alleged misconduct, now leaving an agency he once led. Niles was not available for comment after the meeting. At least one board member told me that he appreciated working with Niles at DJJ since Governor Nathan Deal appointed him in 2012. His departure is effective immediately.